Hi folks, I'm Paul.
Hello, and I'm Rebecca.
This is a car park in the middle of Wiltshire. But not just any car park in the middle of Wiltshire, for this is Devizes Station Road car park. Gives you an idea of what we're looking at today, kind of. It's called Station Road because right here used to be Devizes Station, quite a sizable station. At the other end of the car park is something we'd like to show you today and is the topic of today's video, as you may have already guessed from the title.
Probably giveaway.
The town of Devizes is sat quite high on a ridge. Now, back in the day, that probably gave a natural defensive structure to the west. But what this did mean in more recent history is that a tunnel was required for the railway that passed through here. Now, the tunnel itself was abandoned in the 60s as part of the Beeching cuts, but unlike many that have been left to ruin, well, this one has been fully repurposed for something really rather fascinating. Let's go inside and take a look.
Okay, so this is Isambard Kingdom Brunel tunnel that was built 150 years ago. It's 220 metres long. In 1983, two brothers, the Barnard brothers, took it over as a shooting range. And they ran it that way for some time, and then they were looking to retire. So we took it on in 2000 and expanded the facilities and use it, as you will see shortly.
So we're following Paul into the main customer-facing retail area, where they sell a whole bunch of weird and wonderful things.
Where we sell air rifles, air pistols, shotguns and full-bore rifles and so on.
Now, if we dig a little further into this tunnel with Paul, our guide today, well, here's where things get a little bit more interesting.
So we have various different disciplines that people can shoot in here. As I say, all the way up to full bore. In some cases, people bring their own air rifles, air pistols. In other cases, we hire them out. We also are a Home Office approved shooting club.
Okay.
So people can join, and they're then enabled to fire their own weapons and higher calibers and so on, whereas members of the public are limited to air rifles and air pistols in general terms.
Right.
So this is a 25-yard, 6-lane range, and what you can do is you can move these targets out any distance according to this panel, depending on your skill set. So obviously the really good ones put it right out to 25 yards,
yeah.
But as you're beginning, you would put it to a shorter distance, obviously.
So almost directly above us there is a longer range, 50 yards with 5 lanes. This range has some interesting features and you start to get a feel for some of the business activities that could be deployed here. But first of all, a couple of tunnel mysteries for you.
Historically, this is great fun. We actually got a local historical society some years ago saying, look, could they come in and dine in here and have their AGM, for example? I hadn't realised, but as I understand it, the front bit here is brick lined because the engines would back up at night. And so they'd be under steam as they backed up, and you can actually see in the ceiling in some areas where it's been eroded while they're still under steam. So this is sort of sacrificial brick. Then you go through to the next bit, which is the lovely old stone, which you'll see more clearly as we get further down the tunnel, but that's obviously the main tunnel.
So range is done, let's go downstairs and out the back. This is very much the non-public area.
So that essentially is the retail section, the members of the public section and so on. Coming down to this tunnel, we're going to the professional section, as we say, where we do ballistic testing. It's testing of ballistic materials like armoured glass, armoured plate, ballistic vests for MOD end users and for the manufacturers. So the manufacturers will come to us and say, look, we want to make ours better or whatever, and so they will experiment with different materials and try and improve on their design, obviously, and we can help them by throwing things, usually metal things, bullets and so on at it, faster and faster or different natures, so they can improve their design. We obviously cannot advise them on their design. We are absolutely independent test facility.
The walk down to the test facilities was joyous. They've retained a lot of the original feature here throughout the business.
From a historical point of view, yes, you can sort of recognise a lot of this. Got all the inlets and the walls here. And you've got another one further on, the pull inlet, because this again, I'm not sure when this brickwork was put in, whether that was put in by the brothers who took over the tunnel.
Sure.
But now you've got through to the
back to the masonry. So let's get down to business. What exactly goes on deep in the Devizes tunnel past the public access areas?
Then the customers can look through here or on the CCTV at what's going on in their trial. They're not normally allowed through here because this is where we take control of all the firing.
Yep.
The computer here is controlling the velocity measurement systems, and the firing is controlled from the firing box here. We rarely fire real guns. We do occasionally there's sort of some film work down at the back end of the tunnel, so we do have a range of certain weapons, but the bulk of the time we fire from what's called a universal receiver, and we then hand load the ammunition, because if you buy a box of ammunition, even from our shop, a top quality box of ammunition, the velocity can vary quite a bit. Now we have to do absolutely that here, because the international standards require us to fire at a velocity of between 800 and 820 meters per second, for example. So we will load the ammunition to notional 810 meters per second. And the team here are really good at that, you know, plus or minus 1 meter per second, for example, so that we're giving it the best possible chance of meeting the standard. Because we don't want to say to our customers who've got a £1,000 ballistic door, for example, whoops, we fired it a bit too slow, or we fired it a bit too fast. And then we have a range of velocity measurement systems. So these 3 trolleys you'll see on the left, different types of velocity systems that are placed in front of the gun, the universal receiver. But normally that will be moved further down the range at a set distance, depending on the standard, typically 5 meters or 7 meters away from the sample, which is placed here. Now, here you're seeing a piece of glass that has suffered somewhat, and the international standard there requires that we fire 3 bullets at the glass at a defined triangular pitch, and if there's been no penetration, then it is passed. So the pass-fail judgment will be done by looking at the back here, seeing that nothing's come through, and finally a material at the back, depending on the standard, that would be aluminium foil or card. If there's no holes in it, it's passed.
The final section of the tunnel, while still used for some professional aspects, also is home to yet more fascinations.
In this room here we have a preparation room which has freezers, ovens and so on to prepare the material. So if, for example, we are testing an aircraft windscreen, that's at minus 50 degrees. When it's up in the air, so obviously it's going to perform slightly differently when you're shooting at it or simulating well, it won't be a bird strike at that height, but you know, some sort of fragment. You need it at the temperature that is suitable. Here we have bare tunnel, so we fire the larger calibers in here. We've also got various other opportunities. As I said, we do some sort of film work. We have panel systems here which we can lay out for people to practice shooting in dummy hotel rooms, you know, that sort of thing. The Discovery Channel, Viking warrior women, there was an excellent story about arrows tend to be quite sort of broad points like this, and which is why chain was developed, chain mail we normally call it, but chain, and that came out with a sort of hole that was about that size, so the arrow was stopped and that was okay. Then they came out with a brilliant design where the arrowhead was actually much finer and had grooves on it, so you had the same sort of effect, and it could go straight through the chain. So they came along and did a documentary which had been broadcast, and they wanted my comment on the ballistics of it. But basically the arrow went through, I think they had a lady Olympic archer who came along, the arrow went straight through the chain, penetrated by about that much.
Well, as we walk away from the ranges, the Devizes tunnel, we can hear a few shots in the background, but it's really good to see a tunnel that's repurposed, if that's the right phrase, for hobby, whether it's walking, cycling, or another hobby that we have no idea about, but shooting. But there's a lot of people in there now, as it's got on towards sort of lunch, just after lunch, and it's being used, and it's great to see.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a perfect sort of end to the Devizes branch line in our history here. So big thanks to Paul and the team back at Devizes Tunnel. And from Rebecca and I, well, we will see you probably this time next Sunday, 5 p.m.